London, September 7, 1978. Autumn leaves dance across Waterloo Bridge as Londoners hurry to work. Among the crowd, a man walks with firm steps. Georgy Markov, Bulgarian writer, political dissident, an uncomfortable voice for the communist regime of his homeland. A fleeting prick in his right leg. He turns and sees a man picking up his umbrella from the ground, muttering an apology in English with a foreign accent, and disappearing into the crowd. How clumsy, thinks Markov. He doesn't know that this prick is a death sentence. The poison is already circulating through his blood. A miniature of death, born in the darkest basements of the KGB. A metal sphere the size of a pinhead, perforated with microscopic holes, loaded with pure ricin. The perfect murder, camouflaged as an urban accident. Markov has 3 days to live. It is death, it is life. It has toppled kings, sown wonders. Conspiracy and science, crime and salvation. Echo of shadows, flash of light. This is poison, cure or curse, where the mortal and the miraculous merge in a single vial. How far would you go to silence a voice? For the secret services of the Cold War, the answer was clear: far enough to turn a common umbrella into an instrument of death. Bulgaria, 1970s. Behind the Iron Curtain, Georgy Markov was more than a writer. He was an existential threat to Todor Zivkov's regime. His radio programs for the BBC and Radio Free Europe didn't just criticize the Bulgarian government, they ridiculed it. Zivkov is an operetta dictator, a tyrant who builds palaces while his people queue for bread. His paranoia is only surpassed by his incompetence. Markov knew the regime's most intimate secrets. He had been part of the inner circle before his defection in 1969. He knew, with names and dates, where the regime's political corpses were buried. He was a dictatorship's worst enemy, an insider with a sharp tongue and access to millions of listeners. His broadcasts crossed borders, sowing doubts about a regime based on fear and disinformation. By 1978, Markov had become Bulgaria's public enemy number one. Zivkov had tried everything: threats, blackmail, kidnapping attempts. Nothing worked. It was time for the final solution. The order came directly from Sofia: eliminate Georgy Markov. But it had to look like an accident, or at least something untraceable to the Bulgarian government. The secret services needed something revolutionary, something that had never been seen before. The answer came from the KGB's most secret laboratories: an umbrella that wouldn't protect from rain, but would be a lethal weapon. The Bulgarian umbrella wasn't just a weapon, it was an artifact as mundane as it was deadly ingenious. Developed jointly by the Soviet KGB and the Bulgarian Secret Service, it represented the convergence of the most advanced science with Cold War paranoia. The Soviets needed something completely undetectable. A weapon that looked like an accident, that the enemy couldn't trace back to them. No one would suspect that this ordinary accessory hid a lethal poison. The mechanics were diabolically simple. An umbrella modified with a spring mechanism at the tip, capable of firing a metal sphere just 1.52 millimeters in diameter. So small it was invisible to the human eye, but large enough to carry a lethal dose of ricin. Ricin, poison without cure, ideal for silent killing. It's easily extracted from castor seeds, is extremely toxic, and most importantly, has no known antidote. Once it's in your system, only time decides whether you survive or not. But to truly understand the sinister genius of this operation, we must delve into the microscopic world where ricin unleashes its lethal power. Ricin isn't just a poison, it's a perfectly designed molecular assassin. Imagine your body as a massive factory where each cell is a small production workshop. Inside each cell, ribosomes work tirelessly manufacturing the proteins that sustain life. Ricin functions like a biological computer virus. It has two components, a master key that allows it to enter any cell, and once inside, a microscopic demolisher that destroys the protein production machines. A single molecule is enough to begin the demolition, 1,500 ribosomes per minute, each cell converted to silent ruin. The process is relentless. First vital protein production stops, then cells begin to die en masse, organs fail systematically, and finally the body collapses completely. An invisible assassin, for which there is no remedy. What was most chilling, however, was its microscopic precision. The metal sphere had microscopic holes plugged with special wax that melted at body temperature. This created a controlled release of the poison, giving the assassin enough time to escape before symptoms appeared. The sphere, composed of 90% platinum and 10% iridium, two noble metals resistant to corrosion and extremely difficult to manipulate, was designed not to generate an immediate immune response nor be easily detected by conventional X-rays. The operation had a code name, Operation Umbrella. The weapon had been tested on political prisoners in Siberian gulags. It worked perfectly. Francesco Galino. Real name, Francesco Giulino. Danish citizen of Italian origin, small antique dealer, and one of the most sophisticated assassins of the Cold War. September 7, 1978, 6:30 p.m. Waterloo Bridge. The operation had been planned for months. Galino knew Markov's routine. Every day he crossed the bridge on his way to work at the BBC. For Galino, it was a job like any other. He had been given a description, a location, a method. He didn't think about the consequences, only about completing the mission. The contact was perfect. The brush of the modified umbrella, subtle and lethal, an apology muttered in English, and disappearance into the crowd. He felt a slight prick that soon became painful, saw the strange man, but didn't give it much importance. Until he got home that night and began to feel ill. Georgy Markov arrived at his home in Clapham that night complaining of pain in his leg. He told his wife Annabel about the strange encounter on the bridge, but both dismissed it as an unimportant accident. Markov told his wife that a man had pricked him with his umbrella and apologized. They joked about how clumsy Londoners can be with their umbrellas. They had no idea that this contact had killed him. The ricin began its deadly work. First day, high fever, nausea, vomiting. The symptoms seemed like severe flu. Second day, the pain intensified, the fever didn't subside. Markov was hospitalized, but doctors couldn't identify the cause. It was a medical puzzle. All the symptoms, and no answers. While doctors fought to save his life, inside Markov's body a microscopic battle was being fought that was already lost. The ricin molecules had begun their systematic demolition work. Every second was a silent cellular demolition. Like a system shutting down cell by cell, with no possibility of restart, vital organs began to fail, one after another. Third day, September 10, 1978. Georgy Markov died at St. James Hospital. Officially, the cause was septic shock. But Markov, in his last conscious hours, insisted he had been poisoned. His last words were about the man with the umbrella. He was convinced he had been murdered. The doctors thought he was delirious, but his wife knew Georgie was right. He always was. Scotland Yard faced the strangest murder case in its history. A man dead from mysterious causes, with an implausible story about an umbrella on a bridge. However, the autopsy would reveal something that would forever change the world of espionage. For more than 30 years, the identity of the umbrella assassin remained secret. Until in 2013, a BBC investigation finally exposed the truth. Francesco Gallino, the small antique dealer, had been one of the world's most wanted assassins. Francesco Gallino was never arrested. He died in 2021 in Austria, taking his secrets to the grave. In his final years, according to neighbors' testimonies, he was a man tormented by nightmares, who spoke in his sleep about umbrellas and bridges. He was never tried. But every night, his dreams condemned him. The case of the Bulgarian umbrella teaches us that in the Cold War, science was put at the service of terror. A simple umbrella became the symbol of how states can use the most advanced technology to eliminate their enemies. But it also shows us something deeper, that even the perfect crime leaves traces. The metal sphere that was supposed to dissolve completely became the evidence that exposed the entire operation. Forensic ballistics, combined with electron microscopy techniques and spectrometric analysis, managed to detect a platinum and iridium particle in Markov's thigh. An object designed not to be detected by X-rays, whose toxicity depended on precise dosing and thermal delay of the wax. Lethal technology at the nanometric level. Georgy Markov wanted freedom for his people. His assassins gave him something more. They immortalized his name as a symbol of resistance against tyranny. The umbrella that was meant to silence him forever ended up amplifying his voice through history. Today, every time a dissident politician dies under mysterious circumstances, investigators first look for the metal sphere, the inexplicable prick, the wound that changed a life. The Bulgarian umbrella became the ghost that haunts all the world's secret services. In our next episode, we'll delve into the world of hallucinogenic mushrooms, the guardians of sanity and the keys to the mind. These creatures that grow in darkness have been revered as gods, feared as poisons, and used as weapons in secret experiments. From the sacred rituals of the ancients to the hidden laboratories of the CIA, we'll discover how simple mushrooms can open the doors of perception, or drag you into the abyss of madness. If you liked it, subscribe and share it. Because, in the end, the history of poisons is also the history of power and its excesses. Poison, Cure or Curse is a production by Francisco Martinez. Thank you for joining us on this toxic journey through the shadows of history. And remember, in the world of espionage, even rain can be deadly if it comes from the wrong umbrella. Until the next poison.